Welcome to Phonogenics 101, a Riotboy production hosted by Jeremy Gloff. The podcast where people who love music discuss albums track by track. Please hit subscribe, and if you'd like to support this podcast, patreon.com/Jeremy Gloff or Venmo @Jeremy Gloff. And now, on to the music. Hello, everybody. It's time to get out of the closet. I'm just kidding. But we are going to get out of the cradle. We're here tonight to talk about Lindsey Buckingham's third solo album. I will be honest. I dreaded this podcast. I bought this album. When did it come out? 92?
Yeah.
I got it as a cutout. So it's like a cutout because I'm a completist. I'm like, I got to get that Lindsey album. I remember it got really good reviews. Everyone was saying it was a masterpiece. I played it like once and it didn't grab me. Throughout the years, people kept calling it a masterpiece. I tried to play it. It didn't grab me. For some reason, I'm like, well, we're doing Go Insane and Law and Order, so we at least need to do Out of the Cradle. So I'm like, oh man, like I'm gonna have to actually like listen to this album. So I was talking to G one night. I don't remember. We were just texting. I'm like, all right, tonight's the fucking night. He was listening to Janet Jackson Unbreakable for a different podcast. So he's like, if I listen to Unbreakable, you have to listen to Out of the Cradle. So I lay there on my bed. I was doing crosswords that night, and I listened to it like 4 times in a row, and then it started to sink in. And I won't give away anything until we start the podcast, but all right, I get it now. I totally get it. So,
In the light.
I've seen the light. Let me just say that when people talk about an album that's a masterpiece, like I'm ready for something like capital M masterpiece that like hits you in the face. And I think the thing that makes this album a masterpiece is kind of how it's a little understated, and it takes a while to really just sink in. And I think that's the beauty of it. It's not like a big thunderstorm. It's kind of like a nice gusty light rain that's makes you feel good without anyway. So this panel here, we know everybody. It's our tried and true. Ken's back. Thank you to my Patreon subscribers. I really, really do appreciate the support. I just claimed y'all on my taxes, and I was happy to pay the taxes on that, because how cool is it for people to even give $1 a month to support this? So I was just telling my friends here that I've planned out the next 2 seasons. So I want to keep this podcast going until I cover every album I've loved. Even if I'm like 80, like, hey guys, Nathan, come to Tampa. I still think you're hot. 20 years from now. Okay. He turns off his camera. But before we move into this album, Ken, you have an announcement to make, and I'd love for you to make that announcement.
Thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate it. So I have I guess taken Jeremy's lead, and I have started a podcast of my own. It's about 80s music. It's called Songs You Forgot, a deep dive into 80s pop. It's on Spotify now. I have 2 episodes up. New episodes go up every Monday morning. And kind of the idea is that there's lots of 80s radio stations where you can hear all the big hits from the decade. You hear the same things over and over, the massive songs that everybody's played for the last 30 years. But this podcast is for kind of the lesser known songs from the 80s, the ones that got a little bit of radio play back then, but not a ton, but that were great songs, but that are not like as remembered as they maybe should be today.
Well, cool, man. I look forward. I'm going to be a guest on it next week. So if you guys haven't got enough of me on this shit, you get another chance. Let me just make a little apology to the audience. I have my regular job, which has been off the chain. Like, it's been wild. I've gotten yelled at a lot by a lot of unhoused people. I've been called a lot of names in the last week. And then I've also been doing my side gig 4 weeks in a row, selling merch. And I shot a music video, and I played a show and other things. So like, I think I'm in my Mariah Carey glitter. Like, I just need to sleep. But you know what? We're going to get through the podcast, because I didn't want to reschedule freaking Out of the Cradle. It's hard for us to find a time when we can all be together. So I wanted to treasure this moment. Um, we have our regulars here, but then some of our guests have also busy schedules, and I knew how much you love this album, so I didn't want to miss this opportunity to share this discussion together. So thank you all for being here. Let's start going around the circle and talking about how this album came to you. So I already told my story. I found it in the cutout bin. I read the review in Rolling Stone that said it was a masterpiece, and I played it once until the last month when I realized it's a fucking masterpiece. But we'll get into that a little bit later. So let's start. Ken and G. I know you both love this album a lot. Like at Ken, didn't you say this is your favorite Lindsey Buckingham album?
It is my favorite. His new one, his latest one, is my second favorite. I actually really love it. But yeah, Out of the Cradle is a longtime favorite of mine. I think it's the best stuff he's ever done.
Do you care to elaborate, like your story of how it arrived in your hands, or?
I mean, I was in college at the time, and I was obsessed with Fleetwood Mac already. I was buying everything I could get my hands on that any of the members did. And when that album came out, I bought it. I was kind of like you, to be honest. At first, I listened to it, and I'm like, yeah, it's okay, it's okay. Um, Maybe the third or fourth play, the songs really just started to sink in and hit me, and I was like, man, this is some good. It's like you said, it's not like it's understated, it's subdued, and it's nuanced. It's not a huge production, but that's kind of what I like about it in the end.
Yeah. All right, G, I'd love to hear your take because I know you love this album.
Yeah, I was really, I mean, I listened to like 80s music and classic rock. I kind of got into a little bit later. And I liked Go Insane. And then he didn't do a solo album for a very long time. And I knew the Fleetwood Mac stuff in between. Um, and then when the album came out, I was like in a Prince and Doors mode. And that's like all I wanted to listen to. And I got into Fleetwood Mac really obsessively, like coincidentally, right before The Dance came out. So I got to see that tour like 5 times. But that's when I went and listened to like all their solo stuff and everything. And so that's really when I heard Out of the Cradle for the first time, was like when The Dance came out. So like 3 or 4 years after the album came out. And to me, it was like a greatest hits album. Like every song is like amazing, to me. And I don't really find it like so great as like a journey per se, but like it just every song is like really strong, and it just feels like he was just so inspired, and the lyrics could mean so many things, which is really a genius thing if you're listening to the lyrics. Musically, the songs are interesting, sometimes repetitive a little from other Fleetwood Mac things, but still holds up, and he wrote it, so he has free will to do whatever he wants. Just great freaking songs, every track.
Okay, let's go to Jim. Where in your Fleetwood Mac journey did you come onto this album? At the time of release or later?
I bought it at the time of the release. Soon after. I probably heard a few songs on the radio and I liked them. It's kind of like the Fleetwood Mac thing where you buy everybody's stuff and and catch up on the gossip a little bit. So I got it, but absolutely one of my better album buys. It's really good. It shows Lindsey getting away from the crazy and kind of being healed. I mean, The Dance wasn't all that further down the road, but Lindsey was ready to go with that project right here. He was starting a family, and he's there's a lot of themes about doing the right thing in this on this album.
Cool. And I do feel like a lot of these songs are kind of like a template for the Lindsey we knew moving forward. So let's move to our middle row. What about Nathan and Dr. Larner? I'm interested where you guys where in your journey. And Alicia, I always save you for last because I know that you've heard this for the first time. Am I right?
The first time for me was probably about 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, okay.
So this is one of the few albums this season that I've there was 1 or 2 that I hadn't heard yet, but most of these songs were off of his greatest hits album he released.
Oh, okay.
In 2018. So I mean, that kind of says something about the record. So me listening, I was like, okay, yeah, I've heard this, I've heard this. You
The
know,
anthology, right? Was it like the Lindsey Buckingham
Mhm.
anthology or whatever?
and then
Okay.
I picked up the album in the used bin probably in 2020 or 21. So yeah, it's so you've kind of cut me up through. Sorry, Stephen and Jim, but
That's all good.
yeah, it's. I'll finish after them. But-
Okay. So, gentlemen,
Nathan?
Like Alicia, I found it in a Goodwill, and so it was $4.99 because, like G said, every song is catchy and memorable, and each one as much as the one before it. So,
Yep.
So I like it a lot.
all right. How about you, Steven? I noticed that sometimes you agree with us, sometimes you don't, and I love it either way. How about this time?
I'll be controversial at the beginning, but I'm quite like you, Jeremy. I heard this record a long time ago, like in '92, and it didn't grab me. So I pulled it out for this podcast, and I found a lot of gems on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of a slow girl.
It really took me like the third or fourth listen where I found myself like singing along with the background parts or knowing the melody. Because the first time through, I'm like, this sounds a lot like this other song. But then they're really, all of them are growers, not showers. Like now when I hear this album, I don't even hear the songs I originally thought they sounded like. Like they all are definitely stand on their own.
You don't have the love grunts in there when you're listening?
Well, I do actually.
You have to.
I do have the love grunts. Okay, so Alicia, you know this album. What'd you think of it when you were listening in the last month?
Well, I was impressed the first time I listened, but this is more up my alley. So I was just like, wow, strong song after strong song after strong song. It's great melodies. I feel like it's the Dial, him doing all of his magic tricks at 1 and 10 being all acoustic. And this is kind of the 10. This is kind of opposite of Go Insane, in my opinion. But that's what I love about it. It's, can I say classic album? And what I mean by that is I could put it on and I wouldn't have known it was made in 92. Just because he uses all the studio magic kind of sparingly and kind of just enough to enhance everything, but not overtake everything. And but yeah, this is a strong album. I also like how the theme of this album, it's like it's very positive, which I don't remember Stevie really having a positive record. This is kind of him coming with
Yeah.
It's like he's finding he left Fleetwood Mac, and it's like you're feeling him trying to find himself or heal from all of the turmoil. And he's doing it like G said, where you can really put yourself into the lyrics. So that's what made it also quite an evergreen sort of album too. I think that's what helps with the masterpiece side. So
I am remorseful. We have our friend Walk a Thin Line on the ledge, and he said he had a lot of information about this album. So I left a comment. I'm like, hey, would you like to join? And I forgot to go back and check and see if he responded. I just went like 20 minutes ago. He's like, I'd love to join. So I left a comment. Like, if you read this, add me on Facebook and I'll send the link. So I'm so sorry. I've been so busy. I just forgot. Speaking of being busy, we drove to Fort Myers to film a music video for my album Road to Bartow. Check it out on all streaming platforms. And I brought Out of the Cradle to listen to in the car with my friend Deb, and we never got to it. Like, I'm like, listen to this song from Street Angel. It's so like we were playing all the Stevie, we played Lana Del Rey. We never got to Out of the Cradle. So the whole time she's like, Lindsey's looking at you. So Lindsey, we had like the CD set up in my car. It's like, Lindsey's looking at you. You're playing Street Angel and not Out of the Cradle. He's pissed. So that was kind of like we were chuckling a little bit in the car. So I'm going to show my little collection and then we'll get into the track by track. I think with Lindsey Buckingham album covers, there's not too much to discuss. Usually pictures of himself.
Just
Uh,
Polaroid.
Isn't there two covers to this album?
oh yeah, there are.
Yeah, there was like a
All
slipcase.
right.
There was like a booklet that had the lyrics, and then the other picture was like a poster or something.
Like the studio, he's in the studio. Here it is.
My Goodwill sells that one. Yeah.
They should have both come together. Like it
Mine
was
did.
like-
Mine both came together.
Yeah, it was like 2 in 1.
He looks like that actor that's hot right now. Timothy Chalamet or something.
He just
Chalamet.
I don't know how to say his name. How do you say it?
Timothy Chalamet with Jodie Watley.
Willy Wonka.
So they released a lot of promo singles from this album with unique mixes. So we got I got the Soul Drifter single here.
Oh wow.
The Soul
Wait, can
Drifter,
you pull that up again? I'm sorry, I didn't really
Yeah.
see it very well.
but this is the radio remix of Soul Drifter, so it's a different version.
Wow.
Here's the CD single. And it did have some different B-sides on it.
Really? That was one of my questions.
That's the best song on the album. Killer.
Let's see. I got Countdown here. So here's the Countdown CD single.
What's on that?
We have Countdown, the radio edit, and the album version. Then over
Okay.
here is another promo single, Countdown, the soft mix. So this is the adult contemporary mix.
Wow.
I love these promo singles because you can't find this shit anywhere else.
I didn't even know that existed. Holy
So-
crap.
Does it have green
I didn't
mark on
either.
there?
For somebody who didn't really like the record, it's impressive.
Here's Don't Look Down, the radio edit. So there's that. What do we got here?
I love Don't
Oh,
Look
I
Down.
can't see. Okay, yep. This is wrong. It's album version, then the radio edit. And then the final thing I had from this era, did anyone ever have this interview promo CD that came out around the
That's
time?
the one that had Holiday Road on CD.
This is the only place you get Holiday Road on CD until the anthology came out.
Hunted high and low for that fucking thing. That was before the internet, and you could not find that anywhere. And then like it's totally easy to get on the internet now.
No.
But I wanted it so badly back in the day because it was the only place. It was the vacation soundtrack was like out of print, and that was super expensive.
Okay.
It says a retrospective. So on here you got Monday Morning, Go Your Own Way, Trouble from Law and Order, Holiday Road, Go Insane, Big Love, 3 songs from Out of the Cradle, then interview snippets in between. So some really cool stuff to collect if you're a Lindsey fan, which you can see I have done. All right.
That's awesome. I have pictures of it on my phone. I have both of them signed. That's like it's hard to see, but that's the picture one.
Is that the vinyl?
And that's the other one. It's hard
And
to
these are the
see.
CDs, right?
Yeah, I have the collection somewhere else, but
Did you
I
meet
love-
Lindsey
I
or
love
have it
him.
signed?
I've met him a bunch of times. Like I used to
Oh,
live
cool.
in New York. And I used to go to like his shows, and he did a talk at the 92Y, and then after the talk, he'd sign CDs like in the corner, and so he like talked to everybody for as long as you wanted. And I talked to
Wow.
him for like a while, and he signed a bunch of shit for me.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I was reading online that he's not very thrilled about this album now. Can anyone confirm that?
No, it seems like he's leaning into it because it
He's leaning
was
back into it?
Really into it also
yeah,
because
earlier, pretty represented pretty heavily on that anthology thing.
yeah,
And last time I saw him live, which was that same year, 2018 or something, he was playing all this bunch of stuff from it. Sorry to jump in.
yes.
Okay, and also when he originally toured the album, he had like wasn't like the guitar army. He had like how many guitarists on stage with him?
He
Oh,
played
that
like
was, yeah.
he
Yeah,
played
they're
like
in Look, Don't Look Down now in the music video.
when he
There's like
Yeah.
6 or
I
7
totally
of
remember
them.
him touring for this record in California. I didn't go, but he played it like places that hold like 1,000 people. I'm like, fuck. Like in hindsight,
Oh.
man. Because there's a bootleg from this tour because he didn't do like a ton of touring for it. I think he did like one quick tour and then it was done.
And didn't he open for like Tina Turner or something and it didn't go the best?
Heard that.
I don't know.
Well-
Yes, he did open for Tina Turner that right about there.
So that would have been her
Oh,
Foreign Affair album, right? Would have been out around that time. Or
wow.
no, 92 would have been the What's Love Got to Do with It soundtrack, I think. No, because that wasn't until 93. I'm sorry, I'm thinking on my feet as we go along.
Can I just, G, I wonder if he told you any stories, and then Alicia was asking about vinyl. Did they do this album on vinyl?
In Europe, I think.
In Europe, of
I don't
course.
recall ever seeing it on vinyl.
I looked on Discogs and there was European ones and they were like near $200 a piece.
Wow.
Did you get any interesting intel from him, G? The many times you met him?
No, he's like really like all over the place. He's like friendly, but he doesn't really give a shit. He doesn't really want to talk to you about this song means so much to me, you know, which is
Well,
fine, but
the
as
only
long as
time-
he's cordial, that's all I care about.
Sorry, what was the one thing you care about?
As long as he's cordial, in my experience, he was cordial. So, because I mean, I've read some of those books about him, and it sounds like he's hot and cold.
Hmm.
Well, I'm
And
glad
you
he
can
was
tell
hot.
from these songs. I mean, these songs are hot and cold. There's like some stuff that's like really biting, and there's some stuff that's like really like beautiful, and there's stuff that's like, very edgy. It really like runs the gamut. Like it's like a greatest hits of like emotions of
Yeah.
songs. I love this record.
All right, well, let's get into the record. First of all, we just finished up the Janet Jackson series, and one of the hallmarks of the Janet Jackson discography are the interludes that she did between her songs. I feel like on this Lindsey Buckingham album, we have the Lindsey version of this with his introduction to. He did little instrumental passages. Now, me and G were texting about that. I really like the instrumental passages. I feel like it kind of frames the album almost in a classical way. It kind of shows it as a little higher level piece of art. And I feel like I like that it does that. I really like all the introductions. Does anyone else want to weigh in how they feel about them in general?
I like them as parts of the song. Like I don't want to listen to just the instrumental on its own.
Sure.
But like on streaming services now they've combined it with the intros with the song, and I like it better that way.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, I would definitely skip those if I had like this, because on the CD, like Ken was saying, they were separated. So now that they're together, it's like, okay, cool, and it's nice.
I mean, they're relatively short. None of them are too long.
Which is the downside of them. I was just saying to someone the other day, I wish he would release an album that was all instrumentals and full-length instrumentals, even if it were just of songs we already know.
If you guys ever saw him on the last few tours,
so I like this, but it's not that.
Right.
That's
on
a
his
great
last few
idea.
tours, he performed before the show on the like the PA system. They played instrumental versions of like tons of his songs, and I was like, I wish they would release this.
Yeah.
Didn't Tori Amos do that with a couple albums, like release just the instrumental version? I think her classical album, like it was download only, but you could get the instrumental version, which is kind of cool.
Lindsey never freaking released them, but they play them at like his shows before the
Well,
show.
Lindsey, if you're watching our podcast, you'll
Please
get at
release
least
them.
you'll get at least 1, 2, 3. How many? Like 7 downloads. All right. Any other thoughts on these introductions or anything, the cover, anything until we go into the track by track? All right.
Yeah.
Oh, Jim, go ahead.
Yes, I'll just give you a rundown on how this charted.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah, it was only 128 on Billboard, the album, which is way down there. I mean, as great as this album is, that's really low. Lindsey and Richard Dashut, they produced this, so it sounds more in the lines of Fleetwood Mac because of that.
Mm.
And Wrong was number 23 on the U.S. mainstream rock. Countdown was 32 on U.S. adult contemporary. And Soul Drifter was number 38 on U.S. adult contemporary. And Don't Look Down was number 59 in Canada. So that's when the radio started breaking up in all these little nuance pieces. So it had a little bit of radio airplay, and he made 4 videos to all this. there was 4 singles and there was videos to all of them.
I was thinking about the struggle of marketing this album, because when you think about the musical landscape of 1992, that kind of like the New Jack Swing, like you had your Nirvana, the grunge was coming out. You had like that's when the hip hop was really starting to kind of infiltrate more. So you have this person who was famous in the 70s and 80s, then coming out with the solo album that's pretty understated. So I feel like this album kind of got lumped in with, like, I hate to say it, but like the James Taylor releases from like 92, like those 70, like, no one was caring too much. Like even like the Street Angel kind of things. And it's unfortunate because this album has such a high merit. And I feel like it was more contemporary than, being a dinosaur releasing a legacy album. I think this album could have had a lot of legs, but I don't know how they would have marketed it in that climate. It wasn't a good time our people weren't yet retro. It took the dance for them to be cool again. So Jim, go ahead.
I think this was kind of ready made for VH1, a lot of the tracks, but I don't remember
too early?
seeing what?
Maybe it was a few years too early.
Well,
I feel
VH1
I feel like VH1 might have been around, but like if this would have come out like in 96, right before the dance, or right after the dance, I think it would have been huge.
I think this might have it might have fueled the dance a little bit, because there was some sort of history there for people to, I don't know, industry people to say, wow, Lindsey had a great album. Yes. And then everybody's chimed in and wanted to do a Fleetwood Mac album. So, they're going to get a good product.
Totally goosed the wheels or something, isn't there?
It just
something with goosed, right?
I mean, the dance was a big deal. I
remember when this album came out, and like I don't remember ever seeing the videos or hearing the songs on the radio, but I recall like seeing the picture of the cover. And I definitely had that in my mind, and I love Go Insane. And for some reason, in those days there wasn't the internet, and so if you really wanted to hear it, you had to go buy it if you weren't hearing it on the radio, which I wasn't. So I wasn't really going to go buy it just like randomly, and because I was listening to other shit. So I feel like a lot of people probably didn't get it for that reason and didn't hear it and didn't even know it was even around.
Let's think about 1992. Like the people from the 70s that actually did survive into the 80s. What were they all doing in 92? Like, I think Heart's a band that did the 70s and the 80s, but by 92, maybe they had that Desire Walks On album, but that wasn't a hit.
Aerosmith was doing pretty good.
Aerosmith did good. You're right. They did good.
That's a good point. This is pretty polished. I think a lot of maybe in fashion in those early 90 days was the opposite of polished, which is grunge, right? This is pretty okay. That's all.
I agree. Yeah. So you think maybe if you would have had some rougher edges around it, it might have been easier to market at that time? Am I going too deep into this? I apologize. But I really want to think like what could have made this album work. Ken, what do you think? Because you were in the industry.
I mean, I wasn't. I was in college at that time. I was not in the industry then. But I think that that was even a low period for Fleetwood Mac's reputation. Not as far as like, I'm not even talking about the music they were making at that time, which would have been, I guess, like the Time album, maybe, or Behind the Mask. But
Behind the Mask.
Just as far as their reputation, like nobody listened to Fleetwood. Like it was an embarrassment at that time if you listened to Fleetwood Mac.
Oh yeah.
I remember telling my friends that they were my favorite band. They were like, "Are you?" It was just not. They were not taken seriously at all.
Your friends, Ken. Those aren't your friends.
I know.
I had a group like this, so we lived and breathed Stevie Nicks and Fleetwood Mac in that time.
You see, I just remember sitting alone in my car after my shift at Arby's when Street Angel came out, and I felt like it was just me and Stevie because no one else I kind of treasure that era because like she didn't belong to the whole world at that point. It was kind of a more of a cult thing, and that was kind of cool in its own way.
Well, I kind of like this album. I feel like the people that know about it just freaking love it, and at least some people really get to enjoy it, you know.
Right. And
It's
maybe
too
it
bad
didn't
that
need to
more
be
people don't.
maybe it didn't need to be a hit. Maybe it's meant to be the cult classic it is, and that's another one. I think it was like Joni Mitchell, who you guys know I fucking love Joni. She came out with that album Night Ride Home in 91, which I loved, but didn't make much of an impact. But by 94, when she did Turbulent Indigo, she started winning the Grammys and stuff. So I feel like those legacy legends, by the time 94, 95, 96 came along, did a little bit better. So I feel like this album was just almost a couple years too early. And so
Was Night Ride Home, was that the one that had Come In From the Cold on it?
yes. And she
I
sang
love
that
that
song when I went to the Gorge last year. She sang it, and Brandy Carlisle did not even sing over her. Like, it was so amazing. I just sat there and cried my eyes out.
Nice.
All right.
How was she on the Grammys? Do we all need to go watch that, or was
Oh
that?
my God. You're
It was beautiful.
Okay.
Nathan, your heart's just gonna all over the floor.
Yeah.
Who here all saw Joni on the Grammys?
I didn't watch it.
Oh. Okay. Out of the Cradle. Track 1. Don't look down. All right.
Get out of town.
The first time I heard the album, like, okay, we kind of got
Felicia sings.
we got a smooth rhythm here. It's kind of like a little, like, I feel like I'm walking through Busch Gardens, Jungala. now I love the damn song. Like, I love that he has his little studio magic on the chorus. What do you guys think of the song?
Okay, somebody.
Jim, why don't you start us off? I know you got your
Okay.
notes.
All right. It's a very Fleetwood Mac ish uplifting song. It has a very positive message, wonderful guitar work. The whip cracks add an edginess to it. It is a bit pedestrian, but a very good track.
And that's what I thought. Like, I just kind of wrote it off as pedestrian, but then I realized that's a road that I'd love to be a pedestrian on because it's really damn good. All right. Does anyone else want to jump in about this one? Ken?
I don't think it's pedestrian at all. This is my favorite Lindsey Buckingham song, solo song.
Wow.
If this was
Really?
a Fleetwood, yes, if this was a Fleetwood Mac song, it would be in my top 10 Fleetwood Mac songs. I love everything about it. I love the intro itself on this particular song. I love the way the intro like dovetails so neatly into the beginning of the song. And it's just a really sweet melody. And I don't want to say, for some reason, it makes me think of a bossa nova, not like the rhythm of a bossa nova, but maybe like the instrumentation, something about the percussion of it makes me think of that. And I don't know. It's impossible for me not to sing along with that song. I just love it.
It is great.
I think it's so poignant because, you know, it's his first post Fleetwood Mac song, and it's like, don't look down, don't doubt yourself. Like, there's no safety net. You're just going for it, and he went for it with this on this record. But don't look down could mean, you know, personally, you know, something special to you. And when you have a lyric that can transcend all that shit, it's pretty genius. And even though it does sound very simplistic, it's got a lot going on in it, and it's fucking great.
I feel this whole album is very devious in its kind of simplicity because at first sight, maybe it seems that way, but then the further you immerse yourself into it, there's just a lot to be found within that. Anyone
Great
else?
songwriting.
Don't look down.
Something else.
Yeah, go ahead. Of course.
Yeah. I remember when it came, when I first heard the intro, that really delicate but fast paced guitar. My dad was a guitar player. He was an amateur guitar player, and I took that to him and played it for him. I was just like amazed by the guitar playing. This was when I first realized that Lindsey was like a master of his instrument. And I took that song to my dad and I played that intro, and I'm like, how is he doing this? And my dad was just like, I have no idea. I don't know.
Yeah, this was kind of like the introduction of Lindsey, the speed guitar player that, you know, we heard with Big Love a few years later on The Dance. But this is where you really heard it. This is where I heard it for the first time. I don't remember anything like this on, you know, Go Insane or anything else. And correct me, am I wrong? Was there anything they had done prior to kind of indicate? No. Okay, Steven, your hand was up.
Oh, I'm good.
Oh,
I'm good.
You're like, never mind.
Yeah.
Nathan.
I didn't know that it was Alicia, when she said "get out of town," I started thinking, well, like, why doesn't he say that? Because that would fit well in there somehow. But he does, and I didn't realize that at the very end of the song. He says, "Do not look down, get out of town, follow the sound," and I didn't know that.
Cool.
And I think that's. And what do we all think? Is the pretty yellow bird fly away into the sun? Is that about like his? It's probably about his dog, right? Probably about a cat.
The dog named Stevie.
Sure, it's about the cat. Speaking of Alicia, do you have anything you want to add about this track here?
Nothing that anybody has. You're laughing, Steven.
Because you're cute.
I'm cute.
Yes, you
Yeah,
are.
There's nothing else I can really say. I do like the diamonds in the sunset line.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that's unique. So, but
Well-
yes, I love the positivity.
I do too.
Don't look down. I'm gonna give it 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, it's good.
You don't like it, Steven?
I hate this song.
Really?
I'm
Really?
sorry. I'm sorry, Ken.
Spill the tea.
This is why I didn't get into this album. Like, there's out of the first 4 songs, I love one of them and I don't like 3 of them.
Okay.
And then after that, I pretty much like it all a whole lot. And I was like, man, I
Interesting.
missed all these songs. Yeah, Don't Look Down to me sounded horribly dated the first time I heard it. It kind of sounds like something that didn't make it on to Go Insane. It sounds a lot like Playing in the Rain, where he's got all those things sampled. And outside of Go Insane, that time period and that experimental period, like, I don't like that sound at all. And whenever I hear it in his music, it's what I don't like most about Lindsey Buckingham's music. And I'm sorry, Ken, that it's so polar opposite. It's not intentional.
We are.
I
This is
feel
a
like
safe
they-
space.
I feel like dated is kind of his thing, though. That's part of his style, to that 80s sound that he always goes back to. Like, that's just kind of that's what he wants. That's what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
And maybe unintentionally, because I feel like in his mind, like he always thinks he's of the moment. Sorry, Lindsay. All right, well,
Sorry, he thinks he's what, Jeremy?
of the moment, like, oh, this is so cutting edge. But it's like, all right.
But I mean, he did what he wanted to do, I think. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think he was like following any trend. I feel like these are truly what was in him, and he, followed his gut and did what he wanted to do.
I agree.
And being that it was his first solo record post Fleetwood Mac, I'm sure the label was like, make whatever you want to make. I'm sure that, I mean,
Now, is this record,
I'd
is
love to
this,
know.
do you know how he does his songs? Does he write a song and it sits on the shelf for like 5 or 6 years and then he pulls it out and puts it on an album? Because that's what it sounds like to me. Like, he takes a long time to write all these songs. And then by the time they're compiled, some of them are 5 or 6 years old.
Or
I
like a
mean-
Fleetwood Mac album happens and they poach like 4 of the songs, but then there's the other 5 that didn't make the album.
Did that happen with this? Is this songs from that should have been an album when Tango in the Night came out? Because a lot of this sounds like Tango in the Night.
Yeah, he was working on a
possible.
solo album, and then they did Tango.
And then it took 5 years to like
Yeah.
release it.
it's really unclear because there's not a lot of interviews. I looked after the Go Insane podcast and I was trying to find interviews, and he doesn't talk about it a lot that I could find, but I found a bunch of Go Insane interviews that were trippy as hell. There was like this one where he was on some UK video show, and there was like 3 segments, and the first segment was he interviewed a member from a big country, and then in the second segment he interviewed Kurt Smith from Tears for Fears, and then in the third segment he interviewed some poet that I'd never heard of.
Host.
When he had like his big hair, and it was like, and in between songs he'd be like, "Hello, this is Lindsey Buckingham, and you're watching blah blah blah." And I'm like, I cannot believe this is happening.
And don't forget, you can all see Lindsay on that new We Are the World documentary also that just came out. That's
But he's only in it like in
for 2 seconds.
I mean, there's not like any interviews.
Damn, Sheila E. thinking she's getting a solo in that song. Bitch, please. Okay. Track 2. Sheila E. Like, all right. Anyway, that's a whole nother podcast. Right. Wrong. So we have that picking. This song, at first I'm like, oh, kind of sounds like a Lindsey song. That's how I kind of felt about all these. But then I really got to sink into him, and I love this song. He's talking about Mick Fleetwood here, right? About the shit he wrote in his autobiography. This is kind of a bitchy song.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah. I love it though. I love the music. When I'm in my car, I'm like, do do do, like I'm doing the fist pump to the thing. Jim, let's start us off. What do you think of Wrong?
Okay. Yes, it's an ode to the excesses of the rock and roll world, in my opinion. And it was the lead single off the record, off the album, and they played it a lot on, like, at least my rock station. It's more of a progressive rock, and they played a lot of deep tracks and stuff. And good guitar solos, middle and end. And you said the Mick Fleetwood thing, the piggy in the middle is maybe a reference to Mick Fleetwood. Mick described himself as the piggy in the middle in one interview. Reminds me of a Don Henley type song that points out the absurdities that they witness in that Hollywood crazy rock and roll world. And the video if you've seen the video, it's kind of like a record industry, and it's kind of like Lindsey has an alter ego character that he plays, and he's fighting them through the song. It's and there's water on the floor, and he's stomping around. it's an MTV video. So,
all right, who else wants to jump in?
That's kind of a goofy first single.
Yeah, I feel like it's a weird first single.
Well, I'm surprised they even let it.
Like, Turn It On would have been a much better.
Oh, I love
there's
this.
so much other stuff.
It's not representative of the album.
No.
Wow.
And it's like, I mean, with a lyric like Young Mr. Rock Cock, I mean, like, that kind of a silly first single, because like they're never going to play it anywhere.
Right.
That's a little
They
like
did.
after the first couple songs are hits, then you release it, and then everyone loves it,
Right.
Well, this is also kind of the odd, I don't want to say odd song out, but it's like his Jimmy Stew song for this album. If that makes any sense. So
I love it though.
You love it?
well, I love it. I have in my head, Mr. Rock. So that's what the song should have been called, because that's what I remember when I picked it back up here in the last couple days.
Well,
It's
what
super
about
catchy.
Steven? Do you hate it?
No, I think this is one of Lindsey's top 3 songs
On the album or of all time?
of all time. I love this song.
It's a really great song.
Yeah, I would have had it be the lead single for sure. Like, it's the album for me.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm the odd man out.
No, I like it. I don't know if it's his top 3, but it's a great song. So,
Jim.
It's certainly not a top 40 mainstream radio song, that's for sure. It's down and dirty, but I heard it, like I said, I heard it on the radio a few times. Some radio stations picked up on it, but it's kind of a tough to have that out first. That could have tampered maybe sales and stuff, but Lindsey doesn't care about that.
That reminds me how Peacekeeper was the first single from Say You Will. I don't think that was the best single choice from that album at all. But
No.
Wrong, Peacekeeper is certainly not on the level of Wrong for me. Like, I love this song and I like Peacekeeper, but I don't love it. Like, I
actually like Peacekeeper, but I think it's kind of a weird first single also.
I just can't stand the wow 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 wow.
Yeah.
Which is that Stevie or is that Lindsey like sped up trying to be Stevie?
Maybe it's Christine flying in from the studio in England. It's Sheryl Crow, her contribution to Fleetwood Mac. Ken, do you have anything to say about this song?
No, I'm kind of ambivalent about this one. I don't hate it, but it's not one of my favorites. I think I would like it more, but there's one sound in it that just irritates me, and it's this weird keyboard. It's like a bent note on a keyboard. Do you know what I'm talking about? It's in the version.
Where's it come in?
I mean, I can't. It's hard for me to describe where it comes in, but that little sound irritates me. Other than that, I like it.
Well, I feel like on these Phonogenics, I'm just so easy with my ratings. I'm easy on and off the podcast, you guys. But I give it 2 thumbs up. I do love it. All right, let's get these glasses out because I can't see a damn thing. I can't even see it with the glasses. We've gotten to that point. Oh, you guys. Now this is where it started to sink in for me. Was I love Countdown. Ba ba ba, doing those background vocals. Like when I started ba ba buying, I'm like, okay.
You're in.
The religion.
Yeah,
I'm in. I ba 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 to Countdown. God, I might put this in my top 5 Lindsey songs of all time. It checks all the boxes. It's got the ba 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 choruses.
Number 2.
Such a sweet melody. Oh, I just want to put my arms around the song because I freaking love it so much. And just that hook, the into a great chorus. Like Lindsey Buckingham can write a great chorus when he wants to. Which I think is what makes that most recent album so good. Is there are some great hooks and choruses on that. You know what? Someday on the Phonogenics, we're gonna have to tackle those other albums one day, aren't we? Like I'm just gonna have to listen to them all someday.
You said it.
Oh, son of a bitch, you motherfuckers. Okay.
I'm gonna have to buy some records.
Patreon.com/ but anyway.
Somebody make it rain.
What's that?
Said somebody make it rain.
You made it rain last month, Nathan. Thank you so much. Countdown, such a freaking great song. Is there anyone here that doesn't like it? I'm afraid to I'm leaning in. Steven, you hate it.
No way.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna block Steven off.
You don't like it?
No, sorry. There's never a right or wrong with music.
I thought you were blocking me. No,
you're never blocked.
No, I'm actually curious because I love everything, so it's interesting to hear the counterpoint.
Yeah, tell us the counterpoint.
It is. It sounds like the things I didn't like about his Tusk songs. It's real chunky and blocky, and I don't like the ba ba ba. That really is off-putting to me.
Okay,
that's kind of like the Beach
because he does it like in a weird cartoon voice. He's not really singing. It's like.
I feel it's kind of Brown Eyed Girl-ish. Or like Sweet Caroline. Ba, ba, ba. I feel like Countdown is Lindsey's Sweet Caroline.
What's it about?
Waiting.
The charts, maybe.
Okay, that's what I was thinking, but I wasn't sure.
But it could also mean like something personal to you because like you're waiting for the countdown. Things are about to turn around.
Yeah, I love that positivity, man. And I'm like, in my life, like, I feel like I'm in a little bit of a renaissance right now. Like, rocking the solo album, rocking the podcast. Like, I'm waiting for the countdown, man. Things have turned around. So this song's like doing it for me.
All these songs, I mean, the lyrics are great, the melodies are great, the vocals are pretty great. I mean, it's like a greatest hits album. I mean, every song is strong,
And Steven, just for a little poetic justice, Jeffrey didn't love all the Janet Jackson songs I loved on the last podcast. So never feel guilty.
Oh, no.
There's no right or wrong opinion about music ever. We cannot take it personally.
I find
I just hate to rain on his parade if it's his favorite song ever. And I'm like, oh, I hate that song.
No.
No, it's fine. I love it actually because like on the Janet Jackson podcast, like these certain songs, they just didn't grab me at all. And everybody was like, I'm gonna cry, it's so great, and I was like, oh wow, that's great. I'm glad that like other people like really dig it,
You see, I don't think anyone's raining on a parade. I just think there's 2 different parades. Like they're just 2 different parades.
Exactly.
On 2 different streets. And I love navigating both parades. We can do it. The only time we couldn't do it was on that one Stevie Nicks podcast where people started getting sensitive. That's the only time.
What album?
I don't want to say because then like I think those people were only on one episode. So hold on.
You have to unpause or when you.
So yes, countdown. There's no right or wrong with the opinion. Jim, did you already say your notes?
No.
Mr. Miller, give it to us.
Yes. Nice guitar intro, terrific inspirational song. You can tell Lindsey has been through a lot, and this is him now clearing the darkness. He's coming right out.
Coming out of the darkness.
The rumors era in the Tusk, in the infighting, and Caroline Harris, and he's clearing that. He's getting out of that tunnel. It should have charted a lot better. Nice soaring guitar at the end. An overall complete pop song. It would have been interesting if Fleetwood Mac did this live. I think Fleetwood Mac would have killed it live.
I think this could have been the first single over
yes. It would have been a safe first single, and it's really a good message, good music. I mean, it's just good, and it's in that tango type accessibility. So I think that would have, he toured with this. This was his first tour with with a full band after the Fleetwood Mac, when he left. And I mean, this was some good. I mean, this album really added to the what he could take on the road. I mean, this was just some good music to take on the road and with some players and have at it.
Good point. And to your earlier point, Jim, really set the stage for because it's also poppy and ear candy-ish, that it's
yeah.
It really set the stage for a fucking world-shaking pop rock reunion, right?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to bite into this song, like take a bite out of it. I love it so much.
Guitar solo.
Oh, I know. Oh, Lindsey, I take back everything I ever said.
He's a god, and this album cements that for me. And if you had any doubt in your mind, this album just cements that he's just a freaking music god.
Nobody doubts his guitar work. I don't think anybody. Yeah.
But I feel like he should rank higher on those all-time guitar player lists. I feel like he's much lower on the list than he should be.
I feel like all those solos that we endured from the Say You Will tour through the last tour, I feel like he was just doing all those solos to get on those lists. Let me show him how I can solo.
But you know what? Those guitar solos on I'm So Afraid, scorching every single freaking time, and the whole
scorched me right to the hot dog stand.
Everybody would get up and
but also almost note for note the same every single. Now, look, I love Lindsey Buckingham. I don't want to pull any rugs out from under the LB magic here, but also note for note the same every time, and also heavily affected by a multitude of a series of amplifiers and pedals and echo effects that the likes of which the world has never seen, and I love it, and no one loves it more than me. So,
all right, well, countdown. Does anybody have anything else they want to add before we move on?
Just on that song in particular, I would say that that's the case for, but that, overall, that's not what I'm saying. I just want to be clear.
I fucking love Lindsey Buckingham. I put the I'm So Afraid solo right up there with Mixed Vest on World Turning. Sorry, guys. So now it's my turn to be the most hated person on Phonogenics. Here comes the comments on the ledge. All right. Countdown, 2 thumbs up, though, for me.
Boom.
I mean,
oh, I'm like, oh.
2 second countdown, did you say?
Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Where'd that come from?
Me?
Oh, is that some kind of a fact?
What happened?
Okay, well, if nobody's going to grab on it, I'm going to grab on it. I'm going to say just to the point I was trying to make, and in more of a, according to the Wikipedia on this, which is really interesting. I thought, Jim, I was hoping you were going to come in here and give us a little bit more. Or Ken, is that word G is he ran. This is yet another one that he ran through a VSO. Buckingham recorded his parts on a Fender Telecaster with fuzz and a VSO. He used the VSO to slow down this part and to provide a crystalline quality to the guitar, which certainly worked. And it gives the album a very nice sheen that really comes through clearly to the
It's very
listener.
shimmery. Like I feel it's like when the sun's setting and you can see like the gold on the water. That's how I feel about this album.
Diamonds in the Sun.
Well, and to my point earlier about the greatest hits album, like you have your little kind of intro that's like a little song off to itself, and then you have like a carnival festival song, and then you have like a kind of a dancey little jingle, and then you have like a power ballad, kind of
Right.
thing. So it's like he's like showing you what he can do, and it's like it's just, just love this record.
Damn it,
You don't
Lindsey.
hear a lot of songs that start with the guitar solo, and I love that this one does. And it's not just a throwaway thing; like it comes back to this, and he does the same solo several times during the song. It's a really pretty melody, and it gets there right from the beginning. It's definitely one of the better songs on the album.
All right. Well, next we have All My Sorrows, which I believe is a Kingston Trio cover. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes.
I like when Lindsey covers songs because he never does them note for note. Like he always puts his Lindsey magic or spin on things.
Yeah,
I think this is such a gorgeous cover. What a great next track on the album. To me, what's the line you say, Alicia, about the diamonds in this? Like it just has that another song with that shimmering golden quality. Let's start with Steven for fun. What do you think of this one? Are we out of the woods yet or not quite yet?
This is the last one in the woods. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, don't be sorry. Never apologize for how you feel because you're not wrong. You just feel how
I
you
thought
feel.
he spread the effects on this one really thick to spruce up a math song. Like the song didn't impress me much.
You see,
So
I
go ahead.
felt like it kind of had shades of like I think I even told G this in the text. It reminded me of like Woman of a Thousand Years from like early Fleetwood Mac with a lot of atmosphere and space in it. And a lot of, it kind of took me back to that a little bit,
Okay.
which is
I
a
feel
weird
that
reference.
coming up later
Okay,
on the album.
cool.
Steven, I don't like this one a lot either. This is one of probably only like 2 songs on the album that I don't care for. The melody is just, I mean, he didn't write the melody, but it's like almost one note. It's like so repetitive in the verses, and it just like you said, it's kind of meh.
See, I just feel like it was a vibe. I feel like it was more of a vibe than a song, and it just kind of took me to a relaxing, serene, sublime, a little bit of a breather. Well, Jim, what are your notes on this one?
Yes, like you said, it's a cover of a Kingston Trio song, and I listened to the Kingston Trio song, or the version, and this is quite a bit different. Lindsey, and he made it more like a Lindsey's version. It has a Beach Boy feel to it.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, this song is in a good place for this album to break up some of the sameness of the album. It's a good little break in between. It kind of changes the mood. It kind of, it's like a acts in a play. You have a real intense moment, and then you
It's a
come
palate
down a
cleanser, a palate cleanser, if you will.
Yeah, just it doesn't set the world on fire, but it kind of works with the record.
I thought the harmonies were so pretty. Jeffrey, what did you think of this one? I'm curious.
I love it. It's a vibe, as they say. I mean,
Right.
it's like, it's totally moody, and it's really pretty, and to me it takes me someplace, which
It does what
I
for me
always
like
in a song.
it does what like the last 6 minutes of Lana's Venice Bitch does for me.
Like a joke.
You got a joke? Give it to us, Jim.
Yeah, it takes me to the bean aisle in the discount grocery store. That's where it takes me.
It actually took us to the cutout bin at the record store, but
Okay. I was just because
soon.
I got yeah.
I like the joke.
Does anybody else want to jump in on this one?
Mm-hmm.
Floor is open.
Okay.
For the album, right? slows things down. Not everything can be Don't Look Down and Wrong and Waiting on the Countdown. Sometimes you get so I think, and with all the instrumentals, it really suggests that he meant for it to be listened to in that way, sort of as a, taken as a whole piece instead of okay. And I guess, and then again, there are singles, so that suggests the opposite. So I don't really know, but I think it fits well. It hangs well with the overall arc and where we are in the album.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a cover until I looked it up. Like it felt like an original to me. Alicia, I saw your hand up.
Oh, sorry.
Well, I was gonna say the instrument, the introductions, instrumentals. It's almost like he broke it up like a classical. Like this is one little group of songs that may kind of, and so you have kind of like three little
Different suites.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
So
Jeffrey, you had more to add?
Oh, I was gonna say, like later on in his career, he did a song called Treason, which is like pretty slow, and like I found that to be pretty boring. But I find this one, much more sincere and like lively. And I'm typically not like a ballad, really slow track person. If they could do like a more upbeat song, I would always go with the upbeat song, And I do like this one.
So are you a fan of This Used to Be My Playground or no? In the Madonna universe?
Of what?
This Used to Be My Playground.
I do like it, but it's not one of my go-to
Alright.
tracks. If
I'm
I'm,
just curious.
I would go with like, Into the Groove.
All right, so let's go with the vote on this one. I'm curious because I feel like it's gonna be all over the place. I'm gonna give it 2 thumbs up.
Ooh.
Ooh. Does anyone have anything else they want to add before we move on? I'm a little tired.
I'm jealous of the concept for This Used to Be My Playground.
Oh.
Yeah.
As a songwriter, I'm really jealous that she came up with that. That's a great concept.
Yeah. Next week we're doing the Madonna B-sides and Lost Tracks podcast.
Yeah, you're corn.
Hey, I love my corn videos.
We'll put Jim on mute because I don't think we're supposed to be hearing that. Okay. So next we have the next is the song that I thought this sounds like Family Man. Like I thought I had the same beat. So I'm like, but then now when I listen to Soul Drifter, I don't hear Family Man anymore. I hear Soul Drifter. But this one took even longer than some of the other ones to sink in. I love some of his guitar lines. I love the solo. I do think it's very like vagabondy. Jim, I muted you just because there was some background noise, but welcome back. What do you guys think of Soul Drifter? I know it was a single. Nathan?
In fact, I don't have much to say about it. It's probably my favorite off the entire album. But and I like where it's placed on the album, sort of spatially, if that makes sense. Okay. And then also, you're probably going to say this. I'm sorry if I'm stepping on your deal here, but it's like apparently he wrote that song in the middle of a Tango in the Night recording session, not at the middle of one, at the end of one, right? At the end of one, he wanted everyone to go home. No one was going home, and so he made a very sort of subtle move and went across the hall to his bedroom or something, and wrote the majority of it. Yeah.
You must have had the drum track from Family Man playing.
He came into the bathroom, nobody got the back across the hall and wrote something like that, right? Somebody fill in the details. That's all from me on this.
Well, Jim, give us your notes.
Yeah, it was the third single off the album. It has a similar theme to Countdown. Lindsey saying here that he's been beaten down, but his approach is the correct one. He's he was bucking against a lot of things, and he knows he's right about this, about what he's going forward with. A very pleasant track with a good message.
I agree. All right. How about you, Ken? We haven't heard from you in a little bit. What did you think of this one?
I love it. It's one of my favorites on the album, especially the beginning. It's just so pretty. I think this might have been the first time I realized I like music that's just beautiful and that sounds like delicate and so pretty. I don't think I realized that that's something I enjoyed before I heard this song. And I don't know, the beginning of that just hit me. And I can't believe you put it in the same category as Family Man, which I think is a hideous, hideous song.
Oh, just the tempo, like that drum beat.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't like Family Man. I love Soul Drifter. You know what's
This is
interesting
the fully realized version
Yeah.
of Family Man. Like
It's
he
like-
took that idea and then this is how it should have turned out.
Yeah. Can you imagine if Soul Drifter was on Tango instead of Family Man? Does that rock your world or what?
It doesn't feel like a Fleetwood Mac song though. It really feels like a Lindsey solo song.
It does
to me.
feel like Lindsey solo. Do you know what's interesting is I just realized this. This is a little bit of a complex thought.
I can't imagine Stevie going singing Soul
I'm
Sounds
a
Drifter.
like the male
soul.
version of That's All Right, though, doesn't it, G? Sounds
What?
like That's All Right, but it sounds like the male version of That's All Right, kind of, no?
Oh, that would be interesting.
Or Nomad. So it's interesting because when Stevie Nicks writes some beautiful songs, but Stevie Nicks beautiful is kind of almost like a tragic moonlit darkness. And with this album right now, I'm realizing how beautiful that Lindsey's music is in a totally different way. Like they both kind of bring a beauty to the table that's kind of like a night and day almost. Because I don't think I've ever realized just how beautiful some of Lindsey's songwriting is. I mean, some of the stuff on Tusk is really pretty, but you kind of get distracted a little bit by how gimmicky the production is. But with this album, it's just really solid songs with solid, with the right production choices. So I think I'm really got to really appreciate how beautiful of a soul drifter he is. Alicia, sounds like you had something to say.
Oh, I was saying melodies, but
Yeah, the
yes,
melodies.
that's what gets me. Yeah, it's a beautiful song. I feel like it's a song where he's admitting that he's kind of a nomad, somebody who, and his goal is to be a soul lifter. I think that's what he's. So I think that's really cool. How in this whole record that kind of fits.
Damn, this album's so good. Like I even love it more even now that we're talking about it. Like,
And again, with the lyrics, it could mean it's about him, but it could also have a special meaning to your life if you're a soul drifter and you're going through like that upheaval or starting over or whatever, which is what he was doing. So it can, I mean, it's just, I'm just fucking love this record
ugh, me
over and
too.
over again. But
Ugh.
I just really think these songs are so great and they're so such a good collection of songs. Like, I mean, I would really love to know the origin of all of them and when they were written, because I'm sure a lot of them were written,
I think our friend on the ledge could have totally done that for us if I would have answered his comment before 20 minutes ago. So sorry.
Did he respond, Jeremy?
I haven't gone back to look.
Maybe you could have him on to fill in the gaps of our ignorance.
Yeah,
I'd really love to know because this album obviously didn't do super great, but like I don't recall seeing a ton of interviews, and even looking on YouTube, has anybody looked to see if there's a lot of interviews?
I never saw any.
I saw a lot of performances, which was surprising because I couldn't find anything for Go Insane or Law and Order, but there's tons of stuff for this, at least performance wise. He seemed to really try to promote it.
Jim, you had something to add.
Yeah, he did Letterman, and I think he did Regis Philbin. He did several different TV bits, and
I'm sure they have deep probing questions.
it's just short stuff. And it's always Fleetwood Mac. When a Fleetwood Mac solo artist goes and does shows, they want to talk about Fleetwood Mac. We know that stuff as hardcore fans, that sort of thing. When's the next Fleetwood Mac? All the time, or that sort of thing. So
that's too bad too, because I feel like, especially this album, really shows the power of him as a solo artist.
Yeah, this is very credible. Record stands on itself.
I want to say he did some kind of VH1 special around this album too. I'm not 100% sure, but I would swear that I remember seeing something on VH1. Like, I don't know if it was live performances or interviews or
he did this is when he had his behind the music. They were promoting that.
That was
And
probably
actually, it's a pretty good episode.
I saw
You
Center
know.
Stage. There was an hour
Oh,
Center Stage.
That was like years later, though.
Well, everybody was saying it was 1992, and he
Oh.
looked. Yeah,
We'll have to drop the links in the email.
you're
I know
talking about
what you're
PBS.
talking about,
What?
Lee. That's a good
PBS,
show.
what is it?
That's a good show.
Oh,
I think
Soundstage.
middle or something, don't they? That's a good show.
Center?
I don't know if he did that or not.
He released like a DVD of it, and then
Lee, should
Steven
people trying to
out.
gaslight you and tell you like that's not a real show? It's a show.
All right, well let's we'll put that in the comments if anybody finds it. Soul Drifter, thumbs up. Does anybody have any other further comments on this one?
Did you hear you and I in it as well?
Okay. All right. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
We have another instrumental introduction. This is the time. So this is before we had Come and all the songs where Lindsey wanted to be rocky and crazy. I feel like this was kind of like a template. And this song starts off so like mellow, then he goes crazy. And I actually like it took me a couple of times, but I love this one too. Like like his guitar solos. He's a little wacky here, but it works for me. What do you guys think of this one?
He's a guitar god. I mean, like,
Yeah.
such a rockin' song. I mean, it's just in that, again, with the greatest hits concept. I mean, it's like another track where it's like, this is another thing I can do. Like, I feel like he was really trying to prove himself as like because it's really sounded like in this era, he was never going back to Fleetwood Mac.
Right.
Like, it was so strong. And it was like, I'm on my own now, and this is what I can do. And I
Fuck
mean, even
y'all.
with the album Out of the Cradle, like, I'm not being nursed by Fleetwood Mac anymore. I'm like
on my
doing
own.
this, you know? And I mean, with like so many introspective songs, but another one where like just the lyrics, like, you know, and the fucking guitar.
And not to mention, like, even though there's like the production's a little, I keep saying the word wacky, but whatever word you want to use, but there's still a fucking killer hook in this song. Like, it's still the song itself is great songwriting. It's not just a template for him to kind of do a weird production. Like, it's actually a great song at the center of it. So I think at times in the past, maybe for me, Lindsey missed the mark on that a little bit. This time he hits it dead right, boom. Like, I don't know. So I'm
If you
curious.
think about the evolution of tracks, I mean, like, of his sound between Go Insane, Tango in the Night, and this record, it's like he went through like a musical evolution in like 6 years, or not even 6 years, like 4 years, 5 or 6 years.
Another thing I love about this album is I feel like he really shows himself as an actor. So it's like he's taking on different characters. He's singing in different voices. Like on this song, he even like kind of takes on different characters. Like doing, and I love that. Like, it's so fucking bizarre, but so like he didn't need 3 different personalities because he became 3 different personalities in this one song itself. So I feel like something I never thought of for Lindsey Buckingham before this album is because, like, when I think of Debbie Harry, she's someone that really becomes the song and becomes that character. That's something that I never really thought of Lindsey much to this album. Like, every song is kind of a different character, and he becomes that. Like, even in this song, like I said, there's different voices that he's discovering, and he must have you could tell he had a blast making this album and learning all the things that he was able to do. All right, Jim, give us your notes.
Okay, yeah. It has a similar theme as Wrong, where the world is in chaos. A track that explores a lot of areas musically. There's a lot going on. Progressive rock station should have picked up on this and played it. A pretty epic track when you look at it, you know, when it's all pieced together.
All right, let's all talk about this one. I'm gonna go around the whole circle. Ken, what do you think of this one?
This is one of the 2 songs on the album I don't love.
Okay.
And it's because of what you were talking about, like the different voices. I don't like that. That's kind of the reason I didn't like Family Man. I don't know. To me, it's a little cheesy and overblown. I don't understand the point of having the different voices. I don't hate it, but
You're
it's
right.
not one I return to a lot on this album.
Interesting. All right, Nathan, how about you?
Which song are we on?
This is the time.
Oh, I like this one. It might be sort of the valley in the album, the low point, in other words. I don't have any comments on it. I was
It's all good. We have a couple songs coming up that I'm not recalling.
Okay.
I might need you guys to sing with me. Jeffrey, do you have anything further to add as I go around the circle?
There's 8 more.
No, I love this track.
All right, Steven, where do you sit with this one?
I like the chorus. I like the hard guitar in the chorus. I like the drums, and I like the bass a lot in the
Oh
chorus.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the whole song I like, but those are the parts that really stand out. And I think musically, the whole album, there's good stuff on every track, even the tracks I didn't like. There's still little bits in there that's really interesting and good.
There's always something
And
to
a
dig
lot
into.
of that came forward on this one.
and Steven's right. I'm so wrong. I forgot which song. I've got my titles confused.
No, it's okay.
Like when he says, "Did we desert you?" I mean, it's the best song. I love this song.
And it kind of has that chorusy guitar, like in the verses, like dun, dun, dun. It's almost kind of like post rock a little bit.
Solos kick ass, and then when he
Yeah.
does that thing up the neck.
Dun, dun, dun. Like when I'm driving my car, I'm doing the air drums. Who needs in the air tonight? We've got This Is the Time.
Oh, which song we're talking about?
It's like the logical progression from the Tango in the Night guitar solo. Like it's like the cousin or brother.
Did Lindsey program the drums on this or play them, or did he have studio musicians?
Jim.
Yes, he said he used a lot of drum machines, but he tried to make them more human and kind of rough and sloppy and shit. And he just there's a lot of drum machines and incorporated here, but he tried to make them like not perfect.
I think he
made 'em-
succeeded.
So I mean, you don't really get the impression that this is like electronic
Right.
as much, but there's a lot of electronic in there. There's I don't know if the bass sound in that, like we're talking about. This is the time. There's some bass notes in there. Are those like programmed or real bass? Or do you really? It doesn't matter. It's it's just part of it.
Somebody better check their album notes, though, right?
I'm looking at the credits right now. There's real bass on tracks 3, 4, 5, 8, 10, and 12. I don't know what number we're on.
Anything else about This Is the Time, you guys? What does everyone give it?
This is the time is up. Oh, it's a little bit.
All right, moving onward.
Oh, okay. You do, you don't.
You do or you don't. Someone remind me how that goes.
It has a
It's
lyric
got-
to Bleed to Love Her in it.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yes.
yep.
It's got
Okay,
four,
I'm there.
four lines. Four
I
lines.
love this song. I actually love this song. It feels like the precursor to Bleed to Love Her. I think it's another beautiful song, The Beauty of Lindsey. Great chorus, great vibe, great songwriting. I keep saying the word great, which I kind of feel undermines how great it is. What do you guys think of the song? Okay, so Steven, this is where you start to turn a corner with the album. So let's start with you, because I'd love to hear what you think of this one.
I just said it was an unexpected surprise, and it had elements of Bleed to Love Her all through it. Yeah, I liked it a lot. Very good.
All right, anyone else?
I'll take it.
Jim.
Yes, I have a feeling this is in a way pointed at Stevie. It's kind of either you do or you don't. That might have been something from way back. A feeling, and some of the lyrics were used in "Bleed to Love Her." I think like 4 lines. And when Lindsey sings those lines live, I mean it's like from the heart. And let's see, pretty nice track, fits well with the album.
Now, was anybody familiar with this album enough to know that when the dance came out, they're like, "Oh, those are some of the lyrics from." Okay, so I bet that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was kind of. Didn't I hear this before? You know,
Hmm.
but yeah, it was kind of like that. Oh, I heard that before.
All right. What about the big fans of the album, Ken or G? What did you guys think of this song?
Love it. I mean, just like every other song. I mean, in a way that like "Don't Look Down" can be sort of referred to as like a kind of like a little tropical vibe, island vibe. You know, this also has that kind of, little chilled out vibe kind of thing going on. Less cheesy, quote unquote, than "Don't Look Down" per se, but um, definitely a song that could most likely be about Stevie. But if you're going through something in your life, are you going to? Are you not going to? I really just I'd have said it 50 times, but you know, a great track. I love this
It's
track.
interesting because I feel like "Bleed to Love Her" to me feels so much like a Fleetwood Mac song, and "You Do or Don't" feels so much like a Lindsey solo track. Like I don't think I would want to hear this with Fleetwood Mac. I love Lindsey's version here. I think it's perfect.
I read or at some point took in the idea that this was about less about Stevie and more about his personal internal sort of decision to um you can either opt in or opt out, in other
Right.
words, and of having a nice life and a happy life and a positive outlook on the world and relationships. And so I thought that that was more about a message to his own self about
Okay, that's.
or you
Th-
cannot.
This was such a
Oh,
turning point for him
He's got
artistically.
their whole world's laughing at you. Someone's got to sacrifice to turn everything turn out right. So that's a good valid point.
This album was a huge turning point for him, both artistically and personally, wasn't it?
And for all we know, it could have been about Caroline Harris too, because like the track Say Goodbye" from Say You Will was supposedly written like right after he left Fleetwood Mac. So,
Okay.
this could have been a response to Stevie. It could have been a response to his breakup with Carol Ann.
Lisa, what do you think of this one?
Well, I love it. I mean, it's got a great melody. The lyrics are very poignant, which is what you guys were talking about. I mean, it's dealing with um learning how to kind of move on from a bad situation. You may not it may not be perfect, but you got to make a choice and go for it.
And we were talking earlier about how this album had like, not a lot of rough edges, kind of like with the grunge that was going on. But I feel like on this song, when he does like the "Bleed to Love Her" part, he's really at the top of his range so much that his voice almost cracks. And it feels like, a little raw there and definitely emotional. I love it. This is a 2 thumbs up for me. Of course, every freaking song has been, though, hasn't it? So am I really a fair judge? But I love them. Does anyone have any other thoughts on this one? Say it now. You either do or you don't. All right. Boy, I need to get a new light in this closet here. Okay, so next. Oh, Street of Dreams. What do y'all think of this one?
Oh boy.
This one was kind of a slower
Fantastic.
one, right?
I'm gonna say if there's one track I don't love off the record, it's this one. But it's like I still love it. But it's probably my least favorite track on the record.
See,
It
this
has to be
one.
fun, right?
Now, Steven, were you the one that says that some stuff later reminded you of early Fleetwood Mac? I could almost hear a little Peter Green in this a tiny bit. Jim, you got
This
your.
one was the one I thought of when you brought up atmosphere.
Okay.
Yeah, like I wasn't a big fan of the rain sound effect at first, but as the song went on, it kind of sounded less analog and blended in, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah. Jim, I see you look a little excited, so I want to hear what you got to say.
Well, yeah. It's just I'm validated. Lindsey creating very good art out of very good a very difficult subject. I mean, he's reflecting on his father's death in the song. I love the outro music and in the rain too.
Oh, it's so pretty.
And it reminds me of some of Peter Green's dark songs.
Yep, from Then Play On.
Yeah.
Good point. Good point, Jim. Isn't there a part where he says there's a shadow on the something something
On the
daddy?
stone, on the headstone.
And he's talked about in interviews, hasn't he, that he still periodically goes back there and goes back to his dad's
Well,
word.
they must have been rather, rather close.
That's
So-
cool. I like this. I think it's a good sort of moment in the album.
It was
definitely
probably
atmosphere.
it was
Moment.
probably cathartic and therapeutic for him to record this and kind of get it off his chest, That really that guitar playing at the end, that's just really great. It just
I kind of like that he kept a clean guitar sound in this too, because a lot of times, like when you think of Lindsey doing electric stuff without drums, like I think of like Soldier's Angel with CV like "Dur, dur." Like this one, he kept a very clean, atmospheric, echoey guitar sound. What I don't know, I love it. Any other thoughts on this one?
The vocal was a lot more personal than like the first ballad that was a cover. Like
Yeah.
with all those layers of him harmonizing, I didn't feel anything. And this one I felt a lot more.
All right. Any further commentary? Street of Dreams? Ken?
I think it's the most passionately sung song on the album. I mean, it breaks my heart sometimes when I listen to this.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if he ever did this one live, but maybe he didn't. I can't imagine him singing it live. But the lines, "Shadow on my daddy's stone, 10 years gone." I asked him, "Will I ever stop dreaming dreams?" He said, "Never, never, never." Oh my God, that just hits you right in the heart.
Yeah, because I feel like in other podcasts, you're like, Lindsey's not the strongest lyricist, but on this album, he can keep up with the best of them when he puts his mind to it. All right, another 2 thumbs up for me. I feel like I should just stop rating songs. I think they're all 2 thumbs up. For me. All right, we have a spoken introduction to "Surrender the Rain." This one wasn't one of my. I think this might be my least favorite song on the album. Is this the one that's kind of mid tempo, like ding, ding.
It's like almost like the Prince drum beat.
Yep. What do you think of this one, G?
I love it.
Okay.
I don't love the intro. I think it's kind of stupid, or not stupid.
No.
It's not my favorite thing, but once the song kicks in, I love it. It's like funky. It's like I feel like Street of Dreams had some stuff that like was like an extension of Go Insane, and I feel like this song is like an extension of Go Insane.
Okay.
Okay.
Sort of like the little throwback to like almost like the "It Was I" of this album.
Okay. I can hear that. Jim, what are your notes on this one?
Yes, the spoken intro works well with the previous song. I thought it would just kind of reflects on that. The song itself is a good counter to the previous song. A very good, instructive, inspirational song. I love the lyric wordplay at the end where it's rain like the horse reigns and rain like a king and rain like weather. It's just
Lindsey the lyricist strikes again.
Great. It's really, that's, I can't say anything else, and that was just the wordplay there at the end was really, really good.
I think in
I
fairness,
never noticed.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say
I
that.
never noticed.
Oh. You go. I'll shut up. Go.
I never noticed that before about the end, but like you wouldn't even know that they're different words if you didn't read the lyrics. Because
I just discovered it like when doing this, and I look at the lyrics and see if I can pick up nuances and say, oh gosh, that's just different words. And very few people pick up the liner notes.
Right.
I mean, really, they don't.
I never noticed until you mentioned it.
Yeah.
All I was gonna say is that there were so many songs I fell deeply in love with on this album that I think, this one, I think if I keep listening to it, I'm probably gonna find my space within this one too, because it's certainly not a bad song. It's just not the one that I found my way into as quickly as some of the other ones. Does anyone else have any thoughts? Elisa, do you have anything on this one?
Well, I love the beginning. I always swoon because it's such a beautiful melody. So
Oh, you foolish protect.
I have a question for Alicia.
uh-oh.
What does Surrender the Rain, does that lyric mean anything to you?
Not off the top of my head, no, it doesn't.
Okay. Because I love the sound of this song, but the lyric Surrender the Rain does not connect with me. Does it mean anything to you guys, or is there something I'm missing, or
I
I
think
just
it's
don't feel it?
I think it's another one of his like don't look down, like just go with it. You're never going back to Fleetwood Mac. You've got to just move forward and just give in, or not give in, but just do the best you can, and surrender to the rain, or something like that.
There's something about humidity in there.
Good news, everybody. Our podcast survived, so it just finished converting. Woohoo! We don't have to do Out of the Cradle from the beginning again.
I would lip sync my parts anyway.
Yeah.
We do. Like,
oh goodness. All right. Well, any other thoughts on this song?
My interpretation, I have two comments on like the Surrender the Rain line. I like to watch the weather, and I'm like obsessed with it. And to me, it's like I need to do regular things in life than watching clouds and watching my garden and stuff like that. And and pay attention in real life. And what really Surrender the Rain is kind of giving up something from the past. That's what is really what I think Lindsey's saying. Surrender the dour and the the depression. I think that's what he meant by that.
And he really
To
kind of
me,
did
in a
with this
weird
album.
way. Okay.
Well, I want to listen to it with that thought in mind.
Me too.
Because I enjoy how it sounds.
I would like to hear Brian Wilson cover. Well, not now, but I would like to hear him like around the '90s cover this track, because it's very Beach Boysy to me.
All right, so we have Ken and then Alicia.
Yeah, can I make a completely unrelated comment?
Yeah, of course you can.
A minute ago, when I was looking up the credits to see whether the bass was actual bass players or machines. I started talking about this a minute ago when it cut out, but Walter Egan, who we all know as he sang with Stevie on Magnet and Steel, he is listed in the credits to this album as doing woodcuts. So I looked it up. There's an interview with him from 1999 where a fan asked him about those woodcuts, and he said that they were. I'm going to read this. The fan says, "Did you do these specifically for the album? Were they inspired by his songs?" And he says, "No, they actually had been a Christmas present to Lindsey before he did the package. But I do think his songs were an inspiration nonetheless, especially Don't Look Down and Street of Dreams."
Oh.
So I guess he's talking about the wood cuts of like the lettering of Out of the Cradle on the cover.
Okay.
I assume. But the reason I wanted to bring that up was because it gives me another chance to plug my podcast, Songs You Forgot, where Walter Egan is a guest on an upcoming episode. So,
oh wow,
cool.
All right. Yes, tune in.
What's it called?
Yeah, what's it called? Give the name so people can Google it.
Songs You Forgot, a deep dive into 80s pop.
Wonderful.
And I interviewed Walter Egan about his song Full Moon Fire.
Oh. All right. Well, Surrender the Rain. I'm still gonna give it thumbs up because I know I'm gonna end up loving it. Shit.
That's down here.
All right, next.
One time when I saw Lindsey Buckingham in concert, I didn't really, it was kind of a throwaway for me. And when I saw some broads dancing to it, and this was in 2018, and these ladies were getting down, it changed my mind pretty quick.
All right, you may have heard the next song as the opening track on Tango in the Night, but if you didn't hear it there, when I got this album and whenever I bought it, I truly thought that this just was the music of Big Love and that he just put different words on it. But I think, is it, or is it supposed to be two different songs? Because to me, it's the same exact song, like same exact song.
It's in the Prince world, there's the song Big Fun and Poom Poom, and they're like exactly the same music, but like different lyrics. So maybe he was gonna have the other one and then they decided to go with Big Love instead or something. And
But we can agree that it is the same music, right? Does everyone feel
it's almost identical.
I don't agree that it's the same music. I think it's got the same guitar riff, but it's two different melodies.
Same beat.
Definitely that guitar is from Big Love.
okay?
It's kind of Big Love with some variations on the melody and no love grunts.
Yeah, no. But if you took out the vocal track, would you think it was a different song? I don't know.
It's a different song.
It's probably more suited to be like the B-side of Big Love because they're so similar.
Is it kind of like Juliet and what's the other one?
Book of Miracles.
Book of
Book of
Miracles.
Miracles.
Okay.
I mean, in a sense, like I said, I don't dislike any song on this record, but it's kind of a misstep to put this song like years later after Big Love came out and then be like, I've left Fleetwood Mac and now I'm doing Big Love again. Or like, something like
There's a lot to enjoy there.
What's that?
There's a lot to enjoy in this song once you get past the distraction.
Right.
And
And
it's sounding so much like something and that's the third time in this album that happened for me. Because there's a lot of Tango in the Night in this. But I don't know. It's interesting. I think I'll like it more as time goes on.
I did too. Like finally I'm like doing what I can. Like I was getting into the groove of it, and I will say eventually maybe Big Love was still floating over my head, but I started to appreciate it for the song it was and got into the groove of what it was here, and I love it.
And you can do the grunts.
I can still do
the can't get past the actor. Like, it's like, oh, that's Harrison Ford, even though you're supposed to like believe he's somebody else.
See, I feel like Big Love was my sex life when I was older. Now I'm doing what I can. There's no love grunts. So I'm like,
doing the best that I can.
Doing the best I can. And when it comes time for the love grunts, all there is silence. So I think maybe this song's speaking to me more in my current situation, if you will. Jim, do you got notes on this one?
Yes, it sounds like a Tango in the Night song, Big Love. And I think it would work well with Christine's work in Fleetwood Mac. It would, it's just Lindsey and Christine, their songs work together pretty well. It has a very good tempo and should have had some radio airplay. I think it should have got a little few spins. Come to think about this, it may have worked even in the Fleetwood Mac album Behind the Mask. It's kind of pushed. It's in that. It would have worked on Behind the Mask in a weird way. It's kind of that kind of music.
I'm trying to think of other songs where someone took a track and wrote a different track over the same
Madonna,
song.
the Ray of Light remix, the Ray of Light remix, the song Amazing.
Okay.
And then
Don't You Know the demo became Stay.
What's that?
That's like that pre-Madonna album. She had that demo, Don't You Know, and that became the song Stay with different lyrics. So that's kind of similar.
Well, she did the ABBA song too.
She was always thinking about the devil too, isn't she?
Something on the dance floor.
Well, Ray of Light's a cover also.
Oh, Ray of Light's a cover of Sephirin or whatever. All right. Well, that's another podcast. There's songs where Joni Mitchell's song Hunter that was left off of Blue sounds a lot like what became This Flight Tonight. So that's another outtake that maybe perhaps became another song. All right, back to Lindsey Buckingham. I still give Doing What I Can. At first, I had a journey with the song. I totally wrote it off. I'm like, fuck this. Then I'm like, maybe. Now I'm like, fuck yeah. So I did the whole journey, and I've landed at 2 thumbs up. Alicia, I'm curious. What do you think of this one?
It's like everything else on the record. It's a great song. It's it's him saying, you got to go for it. You got to take a chance. And so I just, I don't have much else to say. I know you're laughing, Stephen, but
I might dare to say that I would go for this song to listen to over Big Love at this point. Just because,
Oh yeah, for sure.
well,
I
I
still have-
like his solo version of Big Love that he performs now. I'm not a big fan of the grunts, but
I don't think Stevie was either. I remember when that came out, I'm like, oh Lord, here we go. All right, any other thoughts on doing what I can? Did we do the actual rating? I'll give it 2 thumbs up.
it makes me think of Stevie's I'm doing the best that I can off of Other Side of the Mirror.
Oh yeah, good point. Escape from Berlin.
I like this one a lot, actually.
Why?
This
Is it the lyric?
hot. The sun is hot, but not too hot to see.
No,
Well, I like the
Sounds like
whole thing.
Christine.
I like the message in this one, and it's really to Alicia's point that how positive it is and how it's about, whatever, something like that.
And even if it does sound like Big Love, who fucking cares? Because Big Love's a great song, and this is a great song.
yep.
That's true too. The degree to which you can see all the threads of those different songs that we know coming through and evolving and stuff is interesting as well.
So it's interesting because we have some Bleed to Love Her, which came later. We have some Big Love, which came before. Steven, what are the other Tango things that you heard previous?
You and I is
Oh,
the
You and
song
I.
too. You and I. There's a lot of the instruments that were in it.
The guitar solo in This Is the Time. The guitar solo in This Is the Time is like that very hard edge, like in the Tango in the Night guitar solo.
Sure.
Jeremy, don't you do that with songs? Like when you're writing a song and it doesn't quite work and you take a piece of it and like
Well,
if you
okay.
go through all your tapes, aren't there songs that overlap musically?
Well, I'm going to tell you guys a story. In 2009, I was making an album called 21st Century Love Songs, and I did some couple really dark, serious songs. I'm like, ugh, no one wants to hear this. It's too serious. So I put a dance beat to it and made a different song. And I actually went back and recorded the original song the way it was written on my new album, Road to Bartow. So I pulled it out of the vault many years later, and so exactly what you said is exactly what happened. I went back and said,
Yeah, I think that's what he's doing here. Yeah.
Yep. So I pulled out of the cradle and took back my song, and I opened my last show with that song because I'm so excited to play it live the way I wrote it. Like it's so I'll never play that probably other version again because you go back to the way it was written. All right.
And 20 years from now there'll be a podcast and they'll be bitching about you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he did the song twice.
Fucking sounds just like where's you know what? There ain't no love grunts neither in my songs. Okay. So when I was playing the album that legendary day when I was doing the crosswords on my bed, there were a couple songs that were the kind of the pathways into the album. One of them was Countdown, but this next song, Turn It On, I think on the second or third play of the album, this really caught my ear and really made me kind of fall in love with the album. Like the song pulled me in. It has those like mirage harmonies a little bit in the background. A very animated vocal performance, very anthemic. He's doing some characters with the voices. I would definitely put this in my top Lindsey songs of all time. I think it's very powerful. And gee, remember when I texted him like, oh my God, turn it up. Like it just second or third listen, I'm like, oh shit. Okay. Something kind of like when on Seinfeld, when George Costanza's like, it moved. Like when he's getting the massage from a guy, he's like, it moved a little bit. Well, we're not talking about my wiener, we're talking about my soul. When Turn It On came, like
shrinkage.
it moved a little bit. Yeah, no shrinkage. My soul moved a little bit when this song came on. So what do you guys think of this one? Is there anybody here that doesn't like it? Let's get that out of the way.
Let's deal with them up front.
Let's deal with that up front. No. Okay.
No.
Is there anyone here that fucking loves this song and thinks it's the best thing ever besides me? Jeff.
Yeah,
Jeffrey, go ahead.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
I mean, this song and Countdown are my two favorite songs on the record, and I mean they're
Me too.
obviously different sounds, but you know, it's like how George Michael had like his fast songs and his slow songs, and they're equally,
Right.
like, you know, like this is like his great fast song on the record to me, and then you know, but I just can't get enough of this track. It's the lyrics are great, like once again, you know, could apply to so many different things in anyone's life, including his own. It's positive, and it's it's almost like a modern version of like Go Your Own Way. It's like if he were to like have toured and been like a huge artist, this would have been like the track he does like coming back from the encore, you know.
And we'd all be singing along, like sweating, screaming in the live concert video.
In
I
the
think
alternate universe.
I think I just matched with my future husband on Tinder, by the way. So mark my words on this podcast when you all are coming to my wedding in a couple years.
It is that previous song. Okay.
Okay, Jim, give us your notes because I know you got some.
Yes. Yeah. It's an inspirational song that fits well with the other songs on this album. It would have been a good fit on a Fleetwood Mac album too. I think easy.
Well, the harmonies are very Fleetwood Mac, I feel like. Like I can
Yeah.
almost hear Christine in there a little bit.
Yes, so many decent songs on this album, and this could have been a single in some radio format. And there's a reference to like someone's dead and gone, so it refers back to Street of Dreams, so it kind of ties that, and it's getting over that really, you know, hurting of losing someone. So this is kind of, it fits on the album, fits with the other song.
Hi, Doug. Ken, I'm interested to hear what you think of this one.
Oh, sorry, me?
Yeah.
I like it a lot. To me, this sounds like a song that could have been on Tusk. It reminds me almost of I Know I'm Not Wrong, something about the keyboard line. It's kind of similar to that. The only thing that I don't like about this, I just wish it didn't, where he does that accent in the pre-chorus, that you can fight, you can reach for the sky.
See, I love it.
Like,
I love the accent. I feel it's like
That's
Britney.
good.
Like Britney.
I'm with
when
you,
she-
Ken.
no, I love everything about the song other than that. That's like the emo accent before emo, and it irritates me.
Maybe he was
Oh, I
making
wish-
fun of Mick Fleetwood.
No, that's fine. I love that.
Steven, what are your thoughts?
This is my second favorite song in the album. I can't remember what it sounds like right now because I've only heard
It's
it
like-
like 4 times,
Right.
Turn it
but
on.
I like it a lot. I just can't remember.
Turn it on.
All right, let's cover everyone on this one. Alicia, do you have any thoughts on it?
Not more than what people have already said. So
Oh, you guys are the best. Look at this group. Nathan, your camera's off, but I know you're on. Your camera's off,
Yeah, man.
but
Turn it
you are
on.
home.
He gets naked.
Oh, goodness. Well,
Just kidding.
hello. Hello, everybody. Okay, I give this 2 thumbs up. So
Yeah,
I
it's-
almost
it's-
wish that the album ended with this song, though. I feel like this would have been a great and
would've
like
worked.
huge closing track, but we still have 2 songs. So we have. Oh, why don't I keep my flashlight on?
It's
this nearly was mine.
This nearly was mine, and then
instrumental.
so yeah, this nearly was mine was the instrumental. Then it ends with "Say We'll Meet Again," which is like a cover, right?
No,
I feel like-
No.
Oh, it's not a cover. He wrote it.
Yes, I'll explain. When
Okay.
I come to it.
Yeah, please explain. Go ahead.
I'll explain when I come to it. Aren't we going to do the This Nearly Was Mine?
Isn't that an
first?
instrumental?
Yes.
I don't have anything.
Yeah, I can say
It's the
but
cover.
Oh, that's the cover.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the cover.
Oh, okay. Does anyone have anything to say about the instrumental?
Yeah, I'll go ahead.
Go ahead. I apologize.
Yeah, a nice instrumental cover of Rodgers and Hammerstein. I think it's like South Pacific, and it's some of the what do you call it? The soundtrack of that movie. And Lindsey pulled something out of it, and it's he interpreted it a different way. There's several short instrumentals on this album, a bit like Buckingham Nicks. You know, it has that in common with Buckingham Nicks. There's bits of, you know, there's covers of instrumentals and there's original instrumentals. So it kind of reminded me of that. So that's all I have for this little, you know, interlude or instrumental.
See, I knew there was something that was a cover here, but I guess I didn't explore deep enough. I always kind of
There was a cover earlier.
okay. Any other thoughts on this instrumental? Ken.
I think it's absolutely gorgeous. Every time I make, I mean, I guess I don't really make mixed CDs anymore, but when I used to make mixed CDs of all my favorite Lindsey Buckingham songs, this one was on there. It's gorgeous to me. Like the guitar work is absolutely impeccable. The timing of the notes, like he just puts like the perfect delay before the next note in the slow parts of the songs. He doesn't speak. He doesn't try to get too fast. I mean, there are fast parts in the song, but the slow parts he takes really slow pace, and it lulls me into this. It just gives me this really nice sense. And then when he does get to the fast parts, then you're getting that technical prowess. I went back and I listened to the Frank Sinatra. So Frank, this was not an instrumental originally. It was a vocal song that Frank Sinatra sang. And it's amazing how Lindsey took the melody that Frank Sinatra was singing and like transposed that to the guitar. I just think it's gorgeous. It's incredible guitar work. It's one of my favorites on the album.
What an interesting choice, right?
It is.
Cool. Any other thoughts on this piece of music? It is beautiful. All right, and now we'll go into the final track, which is not a cover. It's the original, and it is called "Say We'll Meet Again." It's kind of, isn't it a bit of that doo-woppy kind of Law and Order?
Very
chill. Yeah.
Very Beach Boys.
Very Beach Boys. Not one of my favorite songs on the album, but I think it's pretty. I have nothing further. Jim, give us your notes.
Yes, it works with the previous instrumental. A very romantic song to finish the album. Written with Robert Aguirre, and Robert Aguirre was one of the members of the Fritz. So
okay,
they collaborated, and it has a different. I'll keep going. This song sounds like a cover from long ago, but it is not.
Right.
I love the lyric. Everyone sees a tear in the seam, but only talks about the weather. I love that lyric. It's, there you see something obvious that's just totally a disaster, and you ignore it and you talk about something else. So that can refer to relationships or your dog's running out along the creek and you just want to ignore it and things like that.
Well, we could give a shout out to Jimmy, our friend from the Blondie Phonogenics podcast, who always gives like his alternate track listing on albums. So I would have loved if Doing What I Can then went into This Nearly Was Mine, Say We'll Meet Again, and then it ended with Turn It On and ended with the anthem. That would have just been my own little personal thing.
Okay.
Because the album is so inspirational and so positive, and Say We'll Meet Again kind of ends Law and Order-ish for me, and this isn't a Law and Order-ish album to me at all. Any other thoughts on this song?
Well, and to go back to my greatest hits of album with all these different styles and all these different, I wouldn't say the record itself is a journey. It's like the individual songs are all so strong, so it's like a really strong collection of songs. And in keeping with the greatest hits thing, it's like he closes it out with like "Say We'll Meet Again." I hope you'll still like me when I come out with my next record. Could he be talking to Stevie Nicks? Like maybe one day the doors open for Fleetwood Mac again,
right.
Or with Carol Ann, who knows? Like it could work on so many different levels, and it's just like such a great way with that happening so many times throughout this record. It's such a great way to finish it off because
I think that's fair.
So positive. And
it's interesting, Fleetwood Mac did come along 5 years later. His next solo album came along 15 years later, however many years later.
And there was just a interview. He just did a podcast with Conan O'Brien, and he talked about how he would rejoin Fleetwood Mac in a heartbeat.
Yep.
So, deep down, as much of there's conflict with him and Stevie, like he still loves the band and still wants to always be in it. So
I did feel, maybe this is for a different podcast, but I saw all those tours from Say You Will, what was it, Unleashed? Then there was another one that was just like Fleetwood Mac
on the
Live.
show.
And
That was Christine.
yeah, I'm on the show, but when it was just Stevie and Lindsey, there was a different kind of energy that I kind of loved that was unique. And then I loved having Christine back, but did kind of become a little greatest hitsy and not as contemporary as it was when it was the other
I've seen
tours.
both. Mhm.
But anyway, that's for maybe perhaps for our end of the season just discussion podcast that Steven suggested and we are going to do. So anyway, Out of the Cradle, does anyone have any final thoughts before we do our ranking? Jim,
Yeah, I got an overall
please.
statement.
Yes.
It's short. Yeah, this album had more of an impact on me than I would admit, because it was kind of like young adult and kind of looking at the world, a little bit more sharper. And it is the album I really didn't want, but I needed. It's kind
Okay.
of like the Rolling Stones song. I don't know how it goes.
You can't always get what
it's
you want.
Yeah. That's kind of what the sentiment of having this album.
So what do you rank it on a scale of 1 to 10? Lindsey Buckingham, Out of the Cradle.
9.2
All right.
out of 10.
Ken,
9.5.
damn. Steven, Dr. Larner.
2 scales. On a Lindsey Buckingham scale, I give it an 8. On a universal scale, I would say 6.
All right, Nathan, are you with us?
I give it a 9.5.
Okay, great.
All right, Jeffrey Dicker.
I'm giving it I do think it has flaws. But despite the flaws, I think every song on its own is fucking great, or gives me a vibe or a good feeling, or it takes me someplace. I give it a freaking 10.
Oh,
All right.
all right, Alicia.
I was gonna say a 10.
Well,
All right. I originally gave it a 4 or a 6
come on.
back in the day. You know what I had? I'm gonna have to fucking son of a bitch. I'm gonna have to give it a 10. I'm gonna have to give it a 10.
Okay.
It's good all the way through. It shows the power of the Buckingham as a solo artist. Oh, you guys got me on this one.
Insane, dude. That's insane.
I know, son of a bitch. But this is such a good album. You know what?
It is.
They need to re-release it for Record Store Day or something. It needs another place in the sun. This would be a great Record Store Day re-release.
Well, maybe one of those TV shows will like play one of the songs and people will hear it and go, "What?" Like "Wrong" would be great in a song, and like an action scene or whatever.
What about like Countdown? I think Countdown would be great.
Yeah,
I
like
could have
tear-jerking
played for
scenes.
Count.
Okay, we're putting it out there to the universe. We gotta
Yes,
bring
universe.
this album, let it have its flowers.
Like Stevie Nicks when she was praying to the commercial gods in the Destiny Rules documentary. Yes, let Out of the Cradle get its flowers. And you know what? Like, if I was on the radio, I'd much rather hear Countdown than like Go Your Own Way. Like, these songs are I'm so feeling them right now. So, Jeffrey, thank you so much for pushing me to give this album a chance, because very rarely do I change my mind about things, but I sure as hell did with this album. Damn, it's good. All right. Well, next month we are going to meet to talk about Christine McVie's In the Meantime, which
There you go.
is my favorite Christine McVie album. Maybe I'm giving away too much, but I just think, and there was the original mix, and then her nephew did a remix last year that they re-released. I prefer the original mix, but they're much, much better, right? The original mix is much better. And we can talk about that.
Alicia, if you haven't heard it, do not listen to the remix.
Yeah, don't listen to the remix. I mean, it's not terrible, but just there's a certain magic about that original version. And And we're gonna pause because Nathan would like to ask us something off camera. But thank you so much.
No, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't? Okay. Thank you to the Patreon subscribers, to the YouTube subscribers, and thank you all for being my friend. I was looking forward to seeing you all tonight. I'm thankful for the friendship we developed over this music. So I'm still going to pause for a second. We will see you next month. I lied. We're going to do one more thing. Ken, give your podcast one more shout out before we sign off.
Yeah.
So my podcast, which has a new episode every Monday morning, is Songs You Forgot, a deep dive into 80s pop. And Jeremy's going to be my guest on an upcoming episode devoted to solo songs by Fleetwood Mac members in the 80s.
Woo! All right. See you all next month. Love y'all. Bye.